Alright, what is good, y'all? It's your boy EzReacts. What is good, y'all? It's your boy EzReacts. Yo, what is good, y'all? It's your boy Ez, and I'm back with another reaction. And today we're gonna be reacting to. Alright, what is good, y'all? It's your boy EzReacts, and today we're gonna be reacting to who's the strongest Walking Dead character. Comment down below who you think it is. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let's hop into this.
Throughout the 11 seasons of The Walking Dead, we see our fair share of fights, from Rick and Daryl in Season 1, all the way to Maggie and Leia in Season
my boy
11.
Rick and
but this got
Daryl.
me wondering, out of the hundreds of characters we meet in the series, who actually is the best fighter? Now, to make this video a little bit more fair, we are going to say strictly hand-to-hand combat only.
So that's different than his weapons.
Morgan's staff and Michonne's katana are banned. But without further ado, let's delve into who is the best hand-to-hand fighter in The Walking Dead. And what better place to begin than with the series' main protagonist, Rick Grimes. Now, Rick has had his fair share of fights, or 14 to be exact, throughout the series, that primarily involved hand-to-hand combat. A quick disclaimer, exchanges like his execution of Gareth and his first fight against Negan haven't been included in this list because weapons were used.
Yeah, that's a weapon, yeah, in the back.
Now, out of Rick's 14 on-screen fights, he wins 9 of them, or 64%, which is incredibly solid, but when we actually break down some of his wins, it becomes a little bit more questionable. For example, his fight with Tyrese in Season 4, Tyrese...
Oh yeah, Tyrese, yeah. When Carol killed his girlfriend. And Carol was crazy. I don't care what y'all say. Carol, yeah, she was a thinking that time. But
this is being held back by Daryl.
Yep. Did y'all think he haven't been held back, Tyrese would whoop Rick's ass? I think, yeah. That nigga's too big. I ain't fucking with him.
Beats him up. His victory over Ethan at Hilltop, Ethan does physically get the better of Rick, but then Rick stabs him in the neck, ending the fight. So I debate including this on the list, but I guess it still technically goes down as a Rick Grimes
win. That don't count.
And finally, his fight with Negan in the episode Wrath. Although Negan does initially land a hit with Lucille, after this moment, Negan just physically overpowers Rick, and it takes Rick pulling a shard of glass and slitting his throat to ultimately win the exchange.
Yeah, that's a weapon too.
So on 3 of these fights, Rick arguably didn't even win, as in 2 of them he ended up slashing his opponent. And just on a side note, I also find it hilarious that out of all the antagonists throughout The Walking Dead, Rick's had the most fights with Daryl Dixon.
Yeah, it makes sense. He's the main character. And Daryl was like right by him, like the side character.
3. But without a doubt, his worst loss on this list is that to the Governor in Season 4. Despite getting the jump on the Governor, Rick still loses this fight, as he beats him to a pulp and was seconds away.
Yep, I remember this. Yeah, the Governor is different, man. Yeah, that fight right there, bro. Rick was about to die until Michonne saved him. I ain't gonna lie.
Antagonist before Michonne eventually stabs him in the back with her katana. So this made me consider the Governor as maybe the best fighter.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah.
But before I
don't think he ever lost a fight.
Fighting capabilities, I would quickly like to say YouTube has recently changed their algorithm. So if
But the thing is, though, you cannot lose a fight. But how many fights have we had, though? Rick had more fights. So, you gotta think about that.
If you are enjoying today's video, please do like and subscribe.
Yep, y'all like and subscribe down below.
As it helps the channel out massively. And it turns out 92% of you watching aren't already subscribed. So let's try and change that. Anyway, shameless plug out the way, let's get back to the video. Now, the Governor is slyly one of the most formidable fighters in the entire series, and although much of his killings are done with weapons, such as guns, he still packs a hell of a punch, standing in at 6'2" and not afraid to get his hands dirty in physical altercations. He convincingly beats Rick, who is a trained police officer,
he's different for real.
and
He's
also
different.
beats and then kills Merle Dixon, who, may I add, is a former
RP Morrow, bruh. Fuck.
military, so once again would have been trained in some form of combat. However, just to caveat, he had already been
Yeah, he was in the
badly
military, I
injured at this
think.
point by the governor's second-hand man, Martinez. Oh, and he beats up and kidnaps Andrea. Either way, it's hard to look past the governor's large build and brutality in battle, as he literally bites off two of Merle's fingers in their fight. The governor is, however,
Yeah, that
beaten
nigga
in season
crazy. He'll
3
do
by
anything.
Michonne. Although he physically overpowers her, she does manage to grab a piece of
Yeah, hell
glass
no.
and stab him through the eye. And just as she's about to finish him off, Andrea comes to his rescue. And my god, would she regret that decision. But that means the governor's win percentage on screen is an incredibly respectable 75%, which, may I add,
Okay.
is pretty good for an
I
antagonist.
thought it was
On
more.
top of this, the resume of people he's beaten on screen is pretty
Okay.
impressive. But I also want to take this opportunity to shout out Michonne Hawthorne here, because she did best him. Although she's not physically the most imposing, standing at 5'7", she is extremely skilled and keeps fit, as seen in season 3, as she trains
I think she's like the
every
most
morning in
skilled
prison.
fucking.
And although many of her fights on screen involve
And then
her
Walking Dead.
katana, she is most certainly no slouch when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. But I'd categorize Michonne, Jesus, Eastman, and Morgan all in the same category.
Yeah.
Extremely talented and capable fighters. However, they rely far too heavily
On a
on their
weapon,
weapons,
yep.
which unfortunately
Not hands, weapons.
this list. But after revisiting the governor's brutality and the fact he was able to best both a former police officer and a former militant, I wanted to look further into another antagonist's resume. Well, if you could even call him that, and that person is, of course, Negan Smith.
Yep,
Now,
I'm
again,
talking about
a lot
Negan's
of
up there
Negan's
too.
fights do involve Lucille, which disqualifies many of his altercations within the show. However, he is demonstrated to be a very capable fighter with his hands as well, shown by his momentary beatdown of Rick Grimes and, of course, his fight to the death with Simon. And how could we forget, whilst defending Lydia in season 10 of the show, he accidentally killed Margot by throwing her into a wall too hard. Negan is definitely no slouch, and standing in at 6'1", he's got the reach on somebody like Rick Grimes, as well as probably outweighing him. And I think him versus the governor would be an incredibly close
that'd be
fight.
fire, ain't
But
gonna
with all
lie.
that being said,
Both of them
I
crazy.
definitely think there's better fighters across the Walking Dead universe. So what I've done from here on out is grouped potential characters into two categories. One for size and weight, and the other for fighting experience and training. In
Beta,
the size and weight category, we have Beta of the Whisperers coming in
nigga
at
big
a
as hell.
staggeringly tall 6'5", Abraham, who's 6'1" but has a very imposing build, Mercer, who's 6'2" and probably physically the strongest character in the entire series, and Tyrese, who's 6 foot tall but a former NFL player, and we saw in season for what this man was capable of when he beats up Martin.
Don't forget about Tyrese, man.
A small horde of walkers with a hammer.
Tyrese.
And then we have the experience category. First, Shane Walsh. He's a trained police officer and convincingly beats up Rick Grimes in season 2. The entire Reaper community, as they are a group of former military soldiers turned mercenaries who have also survived over 12 years into the apocalypse, actively seeking out violence. So that speaks volumes for their capabilities. Abraham, who's not only physically huge, like previously mentioned, but also served as a sergeant in the US military. Rosita, although not specifically in the military, is trained in some form of combat, and the Grady Memorial police officers such as Dawn and Officer Lamson. But after carefully looking into all of their on-screen moments and builds, I decided to make a top 10 list of who I believe to be the 10 best fighters in The Walking Dead. But I would quickly like to mention, before I actually get into my top 10, I do believe a character like Rick Grimes often loses fights on screen, or comes close to losing them, for narrative tension rather than his actual ability. But based on what we've seen on screen, I just couldn't put him in my top 10. So I'd have him around 11th or 12th. But kicking off my actual top 10, in at 10th place, I've got a tie between the Governor and Negan. They both have very similar builds and demonstrate
that's right.
On screen just how formidable they can be. Both were easily able to get the better of Rick Grimes physically, and I think a fight between these two would be extremely close, hence why I've got them tied. At 9, I've decided to put Tyrese. Now, as previously mentioned, Rick has technically beaten Tyrese in a fight, but Daryl was holding him back.
Yeah.
And I think his pure size and the strength he demonstrates throughout seasons 4 and 5 would make him a dangerous opponent for literally anybody in the series, especially given the right motivations like fighting for his sister Sasha's life. Now, in at the 8th spot, I've decided to go with Leia Shaw. Now, Leia is a part of the Reapers, and although she's a lot smaller than anybody else on this list, she's still a respectable 5'8".
Yeah, I remember her. Yeah.
Well. And she's also survived for over 12 years into the apocalypse. Even
Damn,
after
I didn't even know that.
wiped out, she still showed what a badass she could be, and she's comfortably in the top 10 for me, as her combat skills and military training I think would allow her to defeat characters like Negan or Tyrese in battle. In at 7th, I've got Pope. Now, we don't really see Pope fight on screen other than throwing a
I don't really care about him,
torturing victims, but for me, his ruthless nature just can't be overlooked here. On top of the fact, he's also the leader of a pack of elite killers. And I mean, you don't lead a group of highly trained mercenaries unless you are respected to some degree, which Pope quite clearly is. Again, this is a bit of speculation as we don't really know what he's capable of.
Yeah,
but
I was like, I never seen him fight, man.
Brutality are enough to land him in at the 7th spot, in my opinion. At 6, I decided to go with Shane Walsh.
Shane
is a
Shane different, yeah.
As he dies really before the show delves into the themes of human conflict and epic battles amongst communities. But you just know he's got that dog in him. He would 100% fight dirty and just find any way to win.
Yep.
And although he comes in at 5'11", which is a little bit shorter than most people on this list, he's very stocky and strong. And he kind of reminds me of a pit bull. No, not the one that sings and is bald, the dog. Shane is also undefeated in his on-screen fights, going 3-0 across the series, even beating up Ed Peltier so bad in Season 1 that he went and cried in his tent. So for me, this stocky build, relentless
that nigga was a pussy,
and background
bro.
in police combat lands him in at the 6th
Loves
spot.
talking, but can't do nothing
we have
about
the
it.
biggest outlier on the list, and a name I deliberately haven't
my
mentioned
boy,
yet. That of
Daryl.
course being Daryl Dixon. Now, Daryl, on face value, doesn't look that formidable, at least to crack the top 5. I mean, he comes from a rough and ready background, albeit, but
he can fuck you up, though, I ain't gonna lie.
Stands in at only 5'10",
don't fuck with him,
which is reasonably small on this list. However, he just has this incredible grit that allows him to come out on top of most of his fights, and his resume in the series is absolutely stacked. He beats Beta in Season 9, chokes out Rick in Season 8,
I'm talking about
Jesus in Season 6, and takes out Claimer Billy. Daryl is a formidable fighter, and I don't care how much plot armor he has, he deserves to be in this top 5. At 4th, and narrowly missing out on the top 3, I've put Jesus.
Jesus,
now, he may only be 5'9", but this guy is probably the second most skilled pure fighter.
Yeah, he fire. Yeah, he be doing crazy
and
shit.
although he does often rely on his sword and sometimes staff, as I said earlier on in the video, he's definitely no slouch when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. He's trained in martial arts and
I was just thinking about.
He's quick on his feet and packs.
Yeah, he does know something.
I think his
nobody
frame
knows.
holds him back from ranking any higher on this list, as against some of the bigger guys, he'd probably struggle quite a lot.
Yeah.
He's an extremely skilled fighter, as seen when he basically 2v1'd Daryl and Rick in Season 6, and he's very worthy of this 4th spot. And rather controversially, 2 spots above Daryl Dixon, and just breaking into that top 3, I have the man that he technically beat in Season 9 of the series, that of course being Beta.
Yeah, he's too big, man. Nobody can beat him.
Is he ranked above Daryl if he lost to him in a fight? And it's because, simply, he's a 6'5" beast human
he a beast.
that single-handedly infiltrated Alexandria and is capable of taking down anybody in the series.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah.
Beta's biggest strength, however,
if he really tried,
I mean, he was pushed down.
He fuck up everybody.
The elevator shaft and walked away like it was nothing, stabbed numerous times, and taken a fair few beatings.
Yeah, that nigga was
I know Daryl
unbeatable.
did eventually get the better of him, but I'm sorry, without plot armor, I just can't see him winning this fight. And the only reason he doesn't rank any higher on this list are because the top 2 are genuinely just overpowered. Okay, so I know I'll probably get flamed in the comments for this because my top 10 is now technically a top 12 since I have a tie at 2 and at 10, but in joint second place, I've decided to put Abraham. And whilst
Mercer,
these two are
okay.
still smaller than Beta in size, I think the trade-off of several inches in height is worth it for both of their pure combat experiences, as well as the fact they both still stand well over 6 feet tall. Abraham, as previously mentioned, is a former military sergeant who served in the Middle East and demonstrates throughout the series his insane strength. And all I'll say is thank God.
Yeah, if you're in the military, you can definitely fight. I ain't gonna lie.
Glenn broke up that fight between Rick and Abe in
And you
season
buff
5,
too?
as I
Come on now.
can't see that going very well for Rick, even in his feral state. And of course Mercer, he's the head of the military in the Commonwealth,
Mercer,
served in the Marines, and is
I
probably
forgot
the
about him.
strongest physical character
Oh
in
yeah.
the entire show.
Yeah, that nigga
I mean, a fight
different.
between these two giants would be one for the ages, but they are so evenly matched, I genuinely have no idea who would come out on top, hence why I've put them both in joint second.
Yeah,
And for my
they
top
both
spot,
equal.
the strongest character in The Walking Dead is
Who?
without a doubt Shiva the tiger. Okay, but in all seriousness, a tiger is far too overpowered in this show.
Yeah.
So in
I don't know how he
hand-to-hand
died,
combat, when we're talking
bruh.
strictly humans, then in my
RP
opinion,
Shiva.
the best pure fighter in the series is Carver of the Reapers. This guy is a fully trained military assassin
Carver, what the
who
hell?
literally 3v1s Maggie, Negan, and Elijah
Oh
in
yeah.
season 11 of the show.
That nigga different.
Whilst
I forgot about
unarmed, by
this.
the way. I mean, these three had knives and poles that they were using to beat
He
him
still
with,
fucked
but
him
Carver
up.
wiped the floor with them with his bare hands. I mean, dialogue in the series specifically states he's the best fighter out of all the Reapers, which is a community of former mercenaries whose whole plan of survival is just invading and fighting other communities. He's also demonstrated to enjoy fighting and have a sadistic tendency for violence within the show. So for all of these reasons, he would be any character's worst nightmare to fight one-on-one.
Yeah, I'm scared.
So for those reasons, Carver
Fuck this,
is the
I'm
best
running.
fighter in the entire Walking Dead, besides Shiva, of course. But with that being said, that is my list for some of the strongest Walking Dead characters in the entire series.
Alright, y'all, that'll be it. Make sure you like and subscribe. And easy out. Peace.